It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join News Director Paul David and News Editor Philip Catafamo as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics in Yavapai County that affect all our lives. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it is great to have you in studio with us today. Our guest is National Weather Service Warning Coordination Meteorologist Tony Merriman. He was here just a couple weeks ago to talk about Monsoon Awareness Week, but the monsoon has arrived, and so we thought we'd have Tony come back with us and talk a little bit more about what kind of, hopefully, a better idea as to what our monsoon season is going to be like this year. Welcome back, Tony.
Thanks for having me, Paul. Good to be back.
Weather.gov is the site you go to for your weather forecast. It's the best one you can go to because the guys and gals live right in our area, so they know how the forecast is going to work. And Tony and I, before the show started, we're talking about just how challenging the forecast is to put together here because of the different mountain ranges, the different elevations, and the different topography of all these different locations. So it's kind of interesting to see. But let's get started. First of all, Tony, so June 15th through the 18th, we had that period of time where we had some of those initial monsoon storms come in. I remember I was talking to Megan Taylor there at the Weather Service, and she said, yes, these are definitely monsoonal. I was thinking, all right, this is great. They're monsoonal patterns. It's beginning. Monsoon starts June 15th, runs to the end of September. So I thought that was really great. And then it occurred to me that the first couple of weeks of the monsoon is typically some clouds and a lot of dry lightning. And then that, of course, happened. And we've got multiple wildfires going. We've got the Rock Butte Complex fire. The other one is the Raphael, which we're following, and then the Backbone fire between Camp Verde, Pine, Strawberry area. So we definitely saw a lot of that come in. And that's pretty typical for our monsoon. Is that right? We kind of expect this to happen?
Yeah, so right now we're in what's called shoulder season. So we're right in between peak fire season and the beginning of monsoon season. And usually the lower levels of the atmosphere, they really need to moisten up for us to really get that beneficial rainfall. And right now during this shoulder season, we're getting more of the dry thunderstorm type activity that we're seeing, and dry lightning and lightning starts across the area.
Now, when that happened and we had all these fires touch off, what does that do to the Weather Service when it comes time to respond to these wildfires as well? Because you guys just don't sit at the main office. You've got people that go out in the field.
Right. So what typically happens, so for smaller fires, there will be a county support. So I was supporting Coconino County Emergency Operations Center last week. And then when the fire gets pretty big, Type 1 team is ordered. And with the Type 1 team comes an IMET, which is a national resource. So we actually, for the Raphael fire, we had an IMET from Pocatello, Idaho, come down to help support those operations because our two IMETs in Flagstaff were actually on the Telegraph fire supporting those operations. So it's a complex thing that happens whenever we get really big fires. We get big teams and we get meteorologists specialized from all over the country to come support the fire suppression efforts.
So your resources must have been stretched kind of thin too then, because I think last week at one point I reported there was like 23 fires burning in the state that we were following across the state.
Yeah, so that's the thing with fire season. Resources are scarce, and we do the best with what we have, and we try to put local meteorologists on local fires here in Arizona. But when we run out of IMETs, we go outside of the state of Arizona to get help. So it's more triage. So the first fire that happens, we typically get Arizona IMETs on those, but as we get more and more fires as we progress through the month of June, we have to access the national IMET database. So like I said, Pocatello, Idaho, we had a gentleman from Reno, Nevada, and even a gentleman from North Carolina supporting those fire suppression efforts across Arizona.
Would I be right to say that our wildfire season got started a little bit earlier this year than it normally would because of the exceptional drought? Not only our wildfire season, but I noticed that we had a lot of staff, a lot of people here available to us at the beginning of wildfire season. Some of this is more for the Forest Service to answer, but in terms of the IMATs, we had a lot of fires burning in Arizona, but then I noticed all of a sudden when you pull up InstaWeb is that you see California starting to catch on fire. New Mexico's on fire, Colorado, Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Oregon. It seems like typically what it is our wildfire season starts, and then when monsoon arrives, our crews tend to start traveling up the West Coast to help out with other fires. But I don't think they've really been able to leave the state of Arizona as of yet because of just how many fires we've had. And then I thought, okay, so we probably have crews come in from California, Idaho, and Colorado from out of state to come help fight our fires. But now, with wildfire season kicking off so quickly across the U.S. West, I bet a lot of them said, you know what, we can't stay anymore, we got to go. So you're telling me the same thing kind of about the IMETs right now.
Right. Yeah. So, with Forest Service and their resources, Forest Service could best talk about that. But with Weather Service and how we deal with it, for sure, that's how we had to deal with it. And again, all of our resources for the IMET program were already being used for the state of Arizona, and then these additional fires required outside help. But those outside meteorologists, the IMETs, they're not on an island by themselves. They're in constant communication with the local office. And so, and we're constantly monitoring the weather 24/7. And so whenever there is, let's say, an outflow boundary or a thunderstorm that might be affecting the fire at 3 a.m, we call the IMET on duty, and then the IMET can notify the appropriate authorities, even though that's the only time they're sleeping. Is let's say midnight to 3 a.m. So
right.
It's a team effort. That's on our Facebook page right on the top. Fighting fires is a team effort. Nobody can do it by themselves, and we're just trying to protect life and property, working with our federal and county partners.
Well, let's talk about the good news. The monsoon is here, and it looks like it's going to be a heck of a lot better than it was last year. Real quick, refresh our memories. Flagstaff's monsoon last year, what was their rainfall amount, and what's their normal usually?
So last year, the rainfall was 1.78 inches, which is just shy of 2 inches for monsoon season. And on average, it should be around 7.5 to almost 8 inches during monsoon season. That's half of June, July, August, and September put together. So hopefully we can get much better numbers this year around. And it's looking like we're starting out with a good monsoon season this year.
Let's hope so. I know last year we had a really good, we had a week of monsoon activity that was really nice. And I remember the forest had gone on like stage 2 restrictions or something, and then we had that week of monsoon and they lifted the restrictions, and then the monsoon just went away and the restrictions came back right after that happened. But according to the forecast that I got off of your guys' site this morning, we had a 60% showers and thunderstorms today, 40% tomorrow, likely on Wednesday's forecast, 30% Wednesday night, 50% Thursday, 30% Friday, 40% Saturday and Independence Day, and then 30% Monday. So like the middle of this week is supposed to be a really good chance of some shower activity widespread across the state, hopefully.
Yeah, so that the nature of monsoon thunderstorms too, you could probably see one in the distance, but whether it's going to rain where you're at, it's a 50-50 shot. So it's better than 0%, but we'd love to see 100% chance, right? So
we would love it.
But it's going to be hit or miss, and it's going to be around, and we have moisture to work with, and of course our instability and lift, which is what's needed to make thunderstorms are in the area. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Okay, let's take our first break. National Weather Service Warning Coordination Meteorologist Tony Merriman is with us in studio today. Weather.gov is the website to go to. Stick around. Countywide will be back in just a couple minutes.
Who doesn't dream of home improvements? Perhaps your kitchen, the real living room. Maybe the bathroom, where you bookend your day. Langstrand Contracting is your one-stop shop from tear down to finishing touches. With 35 years of experience, Chris and his team will work with you to match your family's style and budget. Call Langstrand Contracting today for guidance in bringing your vision to life.
Hi, this is Greg at Verde Solar Power. Arizona has lots of clean, renewable sunshine, and we want to help you take advantage of it with our quality solar installations, and we offer to beat any written offer on a residential solar electric system. So bring us your electric bill and let us show you how solar power will save you money. We're located conveniently here in the Verde Valley and are dedicated to helping the valley go solar. So remember, the energy solution comes up every morning.
Starting in the late 1920s, Grandpa Gettle and his brothers laid the groundwork for what would become a family legacy. Almost 100 years and 100 patents later, Gettle's High Desert Mechanical continues to raise the bar of quality heating, cooling, and plumbing products and services in the Verde Valley.
Call Gettle's High Desert Mechanical, Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing at 567-2200 or online at GettlesHDM.com, providing solutions for your comfort. Don't settle, get Gettles.
Welcome back to Countywide. We're talking with Tony Merriman from the National Weather Service in Flagstaff about monsoon. It's finally arrived, and it looks like this week is going to be our first week of real monsoon activity going on across central and northern Arizona. Tony, we are expecting quite a bit of rain. There's something that's helping with this first week of monsoon, and that's that. Is it Hurricane Enrique, Tropical Storm Enrique? Fill us in on that.
Yeah, so I believe as of this morning, it's still low-end Hurricane Enrique, and it's moving north along the eastern Pacific in Baja California.
Is that typical for us? If we watch Mexico's weather, especially around the Baja California, Rocky Point, if we watch their weather and we see that it's this cloudy, rainy day there, are we pretty much guaranteed that we can think that that's going to be pushing up into our area and becoming our cloudy, rainy day the next day or a couple days down the road?
So with weather, there's no guarantees,
okay.
But we often look to Sonora, Mexico for our moisture surge. That's our big thing that we look for monsoon season. And so whenever you get these giant nighttime thunderstorms in the western part of Sonora, Mexico, right along the Gulf of California coast, that is a very great indication of low-level moisture starting to surge northward into southern Arizona. With Enrique, that also allows for that low-level moisture to push farther north into southern Arizona. So we're always looking to Mexico for our moisture and moisture source. And if we have a good steering pattern that we can get that low-level moisture going farther north into Arizona, that's a key ingredient for good monsoon thunderstorm development and pattern setup.
Do we have that?
Yeah.
Right now?
I mean, when you have a tropical system in the eastern Pacific, that is always a great indication of excellent low-level moisture. And as it's instead, the official forecast is for it to go west into the eastern Pacific, but the low-level moisture is still going to be pushing farther north into Arizona over the next few days. So we still have pretty good rain chances across the region. But like we talked about before, it takes a while for that moisture to load up. And so if we do see thunderstorms, it'll probably be dry lightning, but we could get some pretty good rainmakers out of it too.
I hope so. I'm tired of the dry lightning. This dry lightning's going to stop. It's just really set fire at the state. It just took off so fast. And then right after those storms, the temperatures were so hot that week too. Really hot weather, and then the winds were something as well. I was kind of surprised to see all those days of 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts that just took those fires from being a lightning strike to thousands upon thousands of acres. It seemed like it happened really quick. So yeah, I'd rather not have that happen again if we could avoid it. So now, just to remind folks, and folks that may be new to the area too, it's not that we're going to have a chance of showers and thunderstorms every day throughout the entire monsoon season, which again stretches until the end of September. There are things that have to happen in order for it to kind of rekindle itself. So let's talk a little bit about how does the monsoon work when it comes to, okay, we've had some showers and thunderstorms like we're going to have this week, but we're definitely going to have a lull eventually.
Right. A typical monsoon season, you'll have very good days, wet days strung together, and then you'll have lulls in activity. And because the atmosphere is dynamic, it's constantly moving, typically a good monsoonal pattern is when high pressure is over North Texas and we get that southerly flow off the Gulf of California into Arizona. But that high pressure can also move a little farther west and suppress a lot of thunderstorm activity. But again, it just depends on the position of that high pressure, whether it's over Texas, New Mexico, or Arizona. And like I said, the atmosphere is very dynamic. It's constantly moving. And that high pressure is constantly moving as well. So we can get lull in activity for periods of time, and then we can get wet periods as well during monsoon season.
And now without the La Nina or El Nino out in the Pacific, we're still neutral on that. La Nina finally disappeared because she's what kept it from really giving us a good winter this last winter, too, and the monsoon from last year.
Right, yeah. So right now we're in El Nino neutral conditions or ENSO neutral conditions. So there's neither El Nino or La Nina affecting the region. So we're looking at primarily an average upper level pattern or normal upper level pattern for this monsoon season.
Let me ask you this one next, because we are expecting, widespread showers and thunderstorms. And as we always said, we had Tony in here during a monsoon awareness week. We're looking at flash flooding, dust storms, strong winds, lightning. What else? What am I missing? I'm missing one more here, Tony. Tornadoes? Not tornadoes. The heat. Right. We've all experienced the heat as of lately as well. So now the Raphael fire got into some canyons, not to mention the Backbone fire, where it's burning between Camp Verde and Pine and Strawberry. That's all canyons that lead right down into Fossil Creek and the Verde River. There's got to be some concerns about flooding from storms over this. Reminds me of sort of the Schultz fire that happened years ago there north of Flagstaff, where it seemed like every monsoon storm that came in sat right over the top of that area and just absolutely soaked it, flooding out Doney Park in those areas. There was one fatality during those storms too. But what are we looking at for Sycamore Canyon right now and just these fires in general?
So as with any fire, the next concern is post-fire flooding. And actually we're working with County Emergency Management, Yavapai County, and Gila County Emergency Management to determine the burn scar severity and to come up with rainfall thresholds for flash flooding downstream from that. So, any kind of swimming holes that's downstream from the Raphael fire or the Backbone fire, those can be majorly impacted by the first few monsoon thunderstorms with debris flow, ash, trees, you name it, coming down. So right now we're really tightening that up with our local partners. And again, because we're here physically in northern Arizona, we're working with your county officials to nail that down. So we're coming up with thresholds. And like I said, it's a team effort. Not only the firefighting, but also the flood warning effort as well is a team effort. And we're working with flood control district, things like that. So we're having the coordination call today to determine that. But again, if you're out recreating, let's say the month of July, and you receive a flash flood warning on your cell phone through your wireless emergency alert system, get out of any flood or any creek or swimming hole that you're in, because you're definitely in danger of flooding downstream. A lot of our flooding fatalities occur where it's not raining. All that water upstream has to go downstream. And so a lot of people aren't aware that if it's not raining, it can still flood where you're at because all that water flows downhill.
Yeah, look to the horizon and see what's out there, because it does not have to be right on top of you where it's dropping that rain. We've seen that before. Okay, let's take our second break. National Weather Service Warning Coordination Meteorologist Tony Merriman is with us today. Weather.gov is the website. Stick around, countywide, back in just a couple minutes.
Terrifying jobs. Bull Rider, take two. Cliff, this seems like a really terrifying job. Why do you do it?
I love protecting the bull riders when they get bucked up.
How big are these bulls?
12 to 2,200 pounds of pure muscle.
You're not cowed by any of this, obviously. Is there anything that scares you?
Yeah, distracted drivers terrify me.
Two things we can count on every year.
A new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
The EPA says C&B Construction ranks in the top 1% nationally. C&B Construction invites you to see what energy efficiency and indoor air quality can be. We have won another Department of Energy Innovation Award, and C&B Construction is the only contractor in the country to win 6 consecutive EPA Indoor Air Plus awards. Experience our zero-energy, move-in ready homes at Crossroads at Mingus.
C&B Construction, locally respected, nationally recognized. Find out more at candbhomes.com.
Award-winning Soundbites Grill is an entertainment restaurant located in Uptown Sedona at the Hyatt Pinion Point Resort. Open for lunch and dinner, featuring fresh fish, all-natural hand-cut beef, even a full vegan menu. Family-friendly, open 11:30 to 9, late dining on Friday and Saturday. Soundbites Grill has some of the best views of the Sedona Red Rocks. Offers world-class entertainment, food, fun, and music.
Welcome back to Countywide. Just a few minutes left in the program. Tony Merriman with the National Weather Service in Flagstaff is with us today. Weather.gov is the website you want to go to. That's what I get our forecast from. Matter of fact, there's a copy of our forecast right there. Put it together every day and hand it out to everybody that's on the air so they've all got the same forecast to be talking about. Tony was talking just before we went to break that he was going to be sitting down with emergency management and a few other agencies to kind of talk about, okay, our wildfire season was here. We've had major fires, lots of acreage burned. They're burning in canyons that lead into rivers and ditches and washes and communities. And so I was, on the break, I was like, okay, how instrumental is the National Weather Service working with those burned area emergency response teams? Because those teams come in before a fire is even completely out, especially this time of year, because they got to start mitigating some of where this flooding is going to occur. So, Tony, I've got to think that you guys work pretty close with the bear teams when they arrive.
Yeah, we work closely with the bear teams, and again, they determine the burn severity of the burn scars. So, the more severe it is, the more runoff there will be. And they're boots on the ground, so they're our ground troops. So we work with the bear teams. We also work with the county emergency management and even the state hydrologist and meteorology here at the local weather office. So all of us work together to try to come up with the best warning policy for a particular burn scar and downstream impacts as well. They could also include swimming holes, popular recreation areas, things like that. So again, it's a team effort. We all work together, and we're just trying to do the best we can for the public and to help protect life and property.
Are there any particular areas that we really need to watch out for this year with where these fires have been? I think common sense might rule where those areas are, but I'd like to kind of hear you tell us where some of those locations are. Sure.
So downstream from Sycamore Canyon in that area, West Sedona. So there's some creeks and streams out that way for the backbone fire, Camp Verde, downstream from the Verde River, Pine Strawberry, that area too. So, water flows downhill. And if you're downhill from where the burn scar is, definitely want to keep an eye out for that for this year in this monsoon season.
Gosh, any time this year alone, there's got to be a lot of hazards down because we've had I don't recall having so many fires to cover. I don't care for the month of June much at all, and Father's Day, there always seems to be fires starting on Father's Day. I don't know what it is, but I don't care for the month of June or Father's Day anymore because this month is just so horrible. And it's always 2 weeks just before monsoon hits, and then it seems to kick in. So I guess we'll wait and see and hope for the best that it doesn't happen that way. Have you heard, have the fires, I've got less than a minute, have the fires burned with great intensity in some of these areas, or was it hot enough and windy enough that it kind of blew through quickly and we don't have quite that glasscaping of the land, moon surfacing of it?
So the initial reports, like the fire starts tend to have a higher severity, but as it smolders on and keeps going downwind, so to speak, it's not as severe. But again, that's why we have a bear team to assess the exact severity all along the fire scar so that it can help us determine the biggest impacts and where they'll be downstream.
All right. That's all I got time for. Thank you, Tony, so much for coming in again today and helping me out with the show. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay. National Weather Service Warning Coordination Meteorologist Tony Merriman. Again, that website is weather.gov. That's countywide. Thank you for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.